Good morning and welcome to the Community Church of Chapel Hill, Unitarian Universalist. My name is Bill Rode and I'm a member of the Worship Associates ministry here at the church. I especially want to welcome any visitors or newcomers to our church and to call your attention to the special note for you, welcome guests and newcomers, on the back side of your order of service. I would also like to welcome those of you attending online. Lyrics to hymns and all elements of the service may be found on the live stream screen, and a complete order of service, including this week's announcements, is available via the link in the Sunday morning email and on the church's website. We will have an in-person Sunday social held immediately following the service. Also, I would like to say each year the Worship Associates ministry hosts the greening of the sanctuary and the chili dinner. There's going to be a table for sign up in the coffee hour, if you would please take note of that. Please turn off any cell phones or silence them during our service to maintain a worshipful experience. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived at this beloved place, you are welcome here. And now we're going to have within these walls Jeannie Warnash make an announcement about an upcoming play.
It was a dark and stormy night. That is the beginning of the play, A Wrinkle in Time, which is being performed here at the Community Church next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I am Jenny Warnash, and I play the character of Mother, and I am also in the ensemble. A Wrinkle in Time is a Newbery Award-winning young adult novel by Madeleine L'Engle. It is a science fiction / fantasy story about 3 brave children who travel in time and space to save a father and help save the world. There are good witches, one of them with wings, a strange beast, and menacing evil. The cast is made up of children, youth, and adults from the church, directed by Joël Bourjoli. Atmospheric music to set the mood is composed by Glenn Merbach and Graham Hallquist. A fabulous set is designed by Doug Adams. The art design is by Holly Wright. Costumes designed by Reverend Allison, and movement created by Carol Parker. If you look at the back of the sanctuary, even the Children's Summer Art Project is adding to the magic of this play. A Wrinkle in Time is a play, not a musical. So please don't expect much singing and dancing, but do expect drama and high stakes, and time travel, of course. You can purchase your tickets after the service at the Sunday Social. Also, tickets are available online on the church website. We can't wait to share this inspiring story with you. Thanks.
If you would please rise in body or spirit as you're able and join us in our first opening hymn, number 349, We Gather Together.
As we enter this time of togetherness, let us be open to our full selves, open to our best selves, and our not so best selves, open to our strengths and open to our weaknesses, open to our current and our not yet developed selves. Let us embrace change in growth in ourselves and in others. Let us be open to new possibilities. Let us consider ourselves with humility and with humor, as we consider ourselves with honesty. Let us be open to our full selves with love and compassion. Let us be open to this time of transformation. Come, let us worship together.
And now, if you'll join me in reading the words for our lighting of the chalice, the words will be in your order of service. Flame of fire, spark of the universe that warmed our ancestral hearth, agent of life and death, symbol of truth and freedom, we strive to understand ourselves and our earthly home. Now it's time for the offertory. Freely have we received gifts that minister to our needs of body and spirit. Gladly we bring to our church and its wide concerns a portion of this bounty. If you wish to donate online, you can point your camera at the QR code on the back of the order of service, tap the banner that appears, or there's information on the church's website. We will now receive the morning offering.
Each week, we hold a time in our service for the sharing of the joys and the sorrows that we bring with us into this community. This is the time in the service where if you've come with either a significant personal joy or a significant sorrow, you're invited to come forward, place a stone in the bowl, say your name, and briefly share your joy or your sorrow. Let us enter into this time of tenderness and trust. Are there any joys and sorrows this morning?
I'm Ivy Brzezina, and I got a phone call from my sister yesterday saying that she has been diagnosed with stage 3 kidney disease. She has been suffering with rheumatoid arthritis since she was 35 years old, and she is 66 years old. So I ask that you keep her in your thoughts and prayers.
I've been asked to place a stone by Brad Kasiba. Brad asked me to share that Dorothy Hammett is going to be having shoulder surgery on Thursday. And Brad and Dorothy ask that we hold them in our thoughts this week. A last stone is placed this morning for all those joys and sorrows that we hold in our hearts that were not spoken.
Let's take a moment to sit with these joys and sorrows for illness, for those in our community that have health issues, those that are going to be having surgery. Let us hold in our hearts the world at large as well, and consider the wars, the conflicts, those that we hear about on a daily basis and those that are seldom mentioned. The families that are affected, let us hold them in our hearts. How hatred and ignorance seems to seize the day. It appears in our world. Let us comfort each other and comfort ourselves with wisdom, with compassion, with concern, with love. Let us affect the world that is close to us, so that that may spread and that evil, ignorance, hatred, illness is changed one step at a time. Let us hold these in our hearts for a moment of silence. If you would remain seated and join in our sung meditation. The words are in your order of service. There is a love.
We'll sing this twice through in unison, and then we'll try a 4-part round, and maybe if the choir could stand and come help the 4 parts. The first time we say, there is a love holding me. Second time, there is a love holding us. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all There is a love holding us. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all we rest. Once you guys get set. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the piece that we're doing, the choir is doing. We've been working on it for a little while. It's a famous piece by Johannes Brahms, the German romantic composer. Just so you know, it's about 12 minutes long, so a little longer than the normal piece we do. But Inagata Davida was 17 minutes. No one complained about that. But it's also some of the most gorgeous choral music ever written, so I don't think you'll be bored. The title is pronounced Nenya, and it means funeral song after the Roman funeral deity of the same name. The first line is, all things must die, even beauty must die. It seems especially potent this time of year when we've just celebrated our Day of Remembrance, and there's so many leaves around us are dying such beautiful deaths as we speak. Brahms was a humanist. In fact, his friend Antonin Dvorak said, he's such a beautiful soul, but he believes in nothing. He wanted to express his sorrow with the death of his friend, the painter Anselm Feuerbach, using a text that made sense to him. So he chose this poem by Friedrich von Schiller, that uses 3 episodes from Greek mythology. You may remember back in your high school English classes, I'm sure you were taught all the Greek myths. The first is Orpheus and Eurydice. Second, Aphrodite and Adonis, and the third, Thetis and her son Achilles. In the last line of the song, for the lament from the lips of a loved one is glorious, reminds us of the enormous power of love for those who've died. Since Brahms was a humanist, you won't hear sadness in the music. It is almost exclusively set in major sunny keys, with D major and F sharp major. He seems to be saying, life is good, life is wonderful, our time here is wonderful, and we're not to be sad about death. We'll be singing this in English, and the translated words we'll be singing are in your order of service. So now we're going to do Nenya by Brahms.
This morning, I realized is the point of equidistance between Halloween, which was a week and a half ago, and Thanksgiving, which is a week and a half from today. With this in mind, this morning I'd like to talk to you about pumpkins. Follow me here. And specifically, I'd like to talk about how pumpkins are either gone or it's time for them to go. If you carved a pumpkin and set it outside on Halloween, it is long gone. You took the blade of the carving knife and carved a face with sharp, clean edges, and then within a day or two, those sharp lines began to curl inward and soften. The pumpkin began to droop and sag, its structural integrity weakening. Maybe you took off the top, looked inside, and inside you found brown blotches, or a dense, cobwebby fuzzball of black and white and gray mold. And even if you didn't carve the pumpkin, that pumpkin that was decoration for the season went through its own stages of decay, from ripe to past ripe to rotten. This happened or is happening either quickly or slowly, depending on a number of variables: exposure to the elements, humidity, temperature, when the first frost comes, and so on. But it is inevitable. The pumpkin softens and becomes squishy. The inside becomes gelatinous, liquefies. Left in place, its insides will begin to ooze and leak on your porch or your kitchen counter. With that in mind, I want to talk to you about the tradition of smashing pumpkins. I mean smashing pumpkins as a means of pumpkin disposal, and not, I repeat, not the early 90s alternative band from Chicago fronted by Billy Corgan, whose hits included Today, Disarm, Cherub Rock, 1979, Bullet with Butterfly Wings, Zero, Tonight, Tonight, and others, just so we're clear what we're not talking about. I'm talking about smashing pumpkins in a more literal sense. How there are actually neighborhood traditions of people constructing catapults, slingshots, trebuchet, to lob, hurl, launch expired pumpkins into fields where the pumpkins explode with a joyful and exhilarating thud upon impact. What we're talking about are actual public service campaigns in numerous towns and cities, with local municipal governments reminding residents to quote unquote, smash, don't trash their pumpkins. Smash, don't trash. Your pumpkin doesn't go in the garbage, does not belong in a landfill. Instead, throw it in the woods where the pumpkin carcass, especially the seeds, has health benefits for various and sundry woodland creatures. 2 days ago in our home, we knew it was time to get rid of the pumpkin that my daughter had painted and illustrated for an art project. The pumpkin which had sat for weeks on our kitchen counter. We knew it was time when I touched the pumpkin with my index finger, and my finger sort of went through, which was gross. It was time. Lydia heaved it off our back porch, where it smashed and sort of splashed on the ground below. It was very satisfying. So what am I talking about this morning? Here is what I mean by smashing pumpkins. I mean something that served us well and brought us joy until it didn't anymore. And our response, instead of trying to hold on to what is no longer serving us, which isn't even possible, our response is to release it, to let it go joyfully, exuberantly. Here I'm talking about a particular kind of change, a particular kind of transience. There are different types of change. Sometimes change involves moving from something not good to something good, or from something not good to something less not good, or from something good to something even better. This is the change we call progress, the change we call growth. From ignorance to understanding. This is the change of New Year's resolutions, change for the better, improvements, gains, kicking habits, leveling up. This is the change that is exciting and exhilarating and welcome. And then there's the exact opposite kind of change. Change as moving from something good to something bad, or from something better to something worse. From the words of Schiller's poem sung by our choir, "For all beauty must fade, all perfection must die." This is the change we call decline, the change we call loss. From health to sickness, from life to death, from presence to absence. This is the change that's painful and unwelcome and distressing and difficult. But I want to try to imagine a third way, a different sort of change. I wonder if there aren't things that serve us well until they don't anymore that we might let go of joyfully. And for the past several weeks, I've been asking people, inviting people to think about this idea with me. What is something that served us well, that served us beautifully until it didn't anymore? So we released it joyfully, or smashed it joyfully even, and moved on. This was inspired, of course, by the Brahms piece, with this upbeat, joyful, kind of major key, I'm not even sure if it's a major key approach to change and loss. So I asked a group of minister colleagues this question, and I also posed this question to members of the worship ministry here at the church, and I posed the question to you this morning. Some people responded to my question by thinking of other things in our lives that are a lot like the pumpkins of this season. Real Christmas trees, for example, are beautiful and smell wonderful until they dry out and drop their needles all over the floor. Floral arrangements are lovely until they wilt and grow dull. But pumpkins, we get to smash joyfully, which is not the same we don't smash flower arrangements, or at least I don't. At our worship ministry meeting, after our worship ministry meeting, Bonnie Nelson sent me a very thoughtful email reflecting on how some of the joy of pumpkins is that they are impermanent and transient. If they were around all the time, Bonnie thought, they would become mundane, boring, perhaps even irritating. They wouldn't elicit a special joy. Bonnie's observation, I think, is correct. And it also leads me to think of those spiritual practices, gratitude, meditation, noticing, whose goals are to help us become re-enchanted with the everyday. Some people thought of technology, which has become, a thing of the past or replaced. Several people mentioned yellow pages and white pages as something that once served us, but now no longer do. One person, who I'm pretty sure was just trying to be difficult, responded that there were songs by the band The Smashing Pumpkins that once served him well, but no longer do. My ministerial colleagues mentioned a lot of churchy things that they say once served us well, but they think no longer do. And some of those things they mentioned were edgy, and I don't want to start any fights this morning. But if you really want to know, I'll whisper you what they said. Maybe. During our worship ministry meeting, there was a lot of talk about our bodies as a locus of unwanted change, as a site of decline. People talked about giving up physical activities. One person mentioned not being able to play pickleball anymore, and that difficult transition. Alexa Adamo Valverde talked about a time that one of her friends organized a party to celebrate her upcoming hysterectomy with a ritual, a mix of grief and joy, and all of those feelings. They gathered friends together for a ritual to mark the removal of her friend's uterus. And finally, I want to give a shout out to two members of the worship ministry who urged me to really lean into that image of rot, decay, and decomposition. Ginger Guidry invoked the teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh and also shared how rotten things are really, really useful and good for the garden. That's part of that cycle that actually makes continual life possible. And later in the week, Alexa sent me excerpts from a piece called The Poetics of Compost by Redwood Reader. And I'd like to close by reading these reflections on change and impermanence. To make good compost, the poet writes, you've got to have a soul appreciation that creation comes out of the breakdown of all we thought we knew. Nothing would ever grow again if the cell wall of the woodbark refused to fall apart, refused to recombine. Nothing holds on as hard as our minds. To make good compost, you've got to be willing to crack open. So it is that the pumpkins of this season are gone or on their way out. Maybe you'll joyfully launch yours via catapult or slingshot into a field to smash and crash. And I invite you in this season, this autumnal time in between Halloween and Thanksgiving, to wonder about those things that pass, those things that no longer serve us, and to combine grief and joyfulness in this transition. Let us go forth being willing to crack open. We're going to end this morning with a closing hymn about change. It's called My Life Flows On in Endless Song, and I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join in singing.
That is How can I keep from singing? What all the tempest round me roars, I know the truth it liveth. What though the darkness round me close, songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, all to the rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon while our lives to them are winging, when thoughts of shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
Please remain standing for the words of extinguishing our chalice, which are in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And if you would, join me in thanking those that helped make this service special today. And please join in our closing song, singing Shalom. The words are in your order of service, and as you're comfortable, please either hold hands with the person next to you or cross your arms over your heart.